What is up, YouTube, and welcome back to a brand new video on my YouTube channel. Today we are going to be doing a video where I go through all of the matches of the first round of the group stage matches, including the first 3 games that have kicked off this morning of Group A and Group B. If you have enjoyed the World Cup as well, smash a like on this video, subscribe for more World Cup content in the future, as when the round of 16 and semi-finals and final eventually arrive, I'll be doing videos on those as well, saying my predictions, saying my results for the scores, and etc, etc. So let's just get into this video, and if you go on to enjoy this video as well, smash a like on it. Really appreciate it. Comment on the video who you think is going to win this World Cup as well, and enjoy the video. So the World Cup kicked off on the 20th of November on the Sunday with Qatar versus Ecuador. Qatar, having only had their team for about 5 months, only recently gelled together. In their first match, they didn't really look very coordinated. They looked as though they were a very new team. Even though they were the host nation, they really didn't look like they had any composure for the ball. They took too many heavy touches, and their threat in front of goal was not to the forefront as other teams in their group are. Ecuador, on the other hand, I think they were a lot better in their play. They had Enner Valencia, a former West Ham man. He performed incredibly well for them, scoring 2 amazing goals and making Ecuador win their first game. On the Monday, we had England against Iran. Probably the best performance I've ever seen England play in their history, beating Iran 6-2 in their first match of the group stages, and it was an incredible game. Not once did Harry Kane score, but it just shows that we have the attacking threat now to go forward and push for potentially World Cup glory. Obviously, though, we still have to get through the likes of Spain and France, but we do have potential in our attacking line. Defensively, we need to shape up. We need to be a bit of a more compactful brick wall. Maguire and Stones need to work together to stop attacking teams coming through. But apart from that, England have had a brilliant start to the World Cup this season. Senegal versus the Netherlands. Once again, I think Senegal got off to a bit of a rough start. They are now playing better, as I will say later on. But Netherlands, although they were a bit rubbish, they did show they had the potential within their squad to win that game, and they did indeed. They won 2-0 against Senegal, and they are now playing Ecuador in the next game today. Kicks off at 4 p.m. this afternoon, English time. And then we came to probably the first boring game of the World Cup, USA versus Wales. Both of them probably will not get through, but I see the USA doing better than Wales and getting that second place. But it was a very slow start for both teams. Really didn't get going until the second half. Belgium have no control on the ball whatsoever. They really shouldn't be in the World Cup, but that's just my opinion. USA, I think, will bring a challenge to England tonight at 7 p.m. kickoff on ITV1. But other than that, I think England should storm that group anyway. On to Tuesday. November 22nd, Group C kicked off their games with Argentina versus Saudi Arabia and Mexico versus Poland. Group C was where we saw the most 0-0 draws. We saw Group D's Denmark versus Tunisia. That was a 0-0 draw. Group C's Mexico versus Poland. That was a 0-0 draw. Two the most boring games I've ever watched. But then we had the upset, the biggest upset that everyone's been talking about. We had Argentina versus Saudi Arabia. Lionel Messi in the 35th minute bagging a penalty for the Argentinians. But then, shock horror, Saudi Arabia went on to beat them 2-1. It was a horrendous start to the World Cup for Argentina. They were coming into this tournament as favourites to win it. But to be able to do well, they have to perform better against Mexico tomorrow and continue their good run of form of 35 unbeaten games in a competitive tournament. Group D's France played Australia of Group D as well. Obviously France are France, so they went on to win 4-1. It was a really, really good display by Mbappe as usual. Olivier Giroud, underrated as he is, he performed excellently during that World Cup game, and I do think he will continue to shine in the following games to come. Maybe not against Denmark, as Denmark are a stronger side, but definitely will show his quality going through the tournament. Wednesday, 23rd, Group F and Group E kicked off their World Cup starts with a 0-0 draw in Group F, Morocco versus Croatia. That was another piss poor game. Really, really didn't do their countries justice, Morocco and Croatia. But it was then saved, our boredom was then saved by Germany against Japan. Another big upset, Japan beating Germany 2-1, just like Saudi Arabia to Argentina. It was fantastic, fantastic football from the Japanese team to beat one of the biggest nations in world football. And then we had Group F, Belgium versus Canada. Belgium definitely didn't deserve to win that game. Canada showed much more attacking threat in the second half. They really should have won that game, but Belgium slipped through and won 1-0. Then came probably the highest scoring match ever during this World Cup so far. Spain absolutely mullered Costa Rica 7-0 with the new young stars Pedri and Gavi climbing up the ranks and scoring in that World Cup group stage match, and it was an unbelievable game. I was lucky enough to see all of those goals, and they were unbelievable. Really, really good side, and let's see what they do against Germany, who lost against Japan earlier that day. Yesterday, Group G and Group H kicked off in their games, with Switzerland beating Cameroon 1-0. Once again, it wasn't a very, very entertaining game, but Switzerland with Imbolo went through and won that game. It was incredible. The goal was a bit scuffy, but if you don't shoot, you don't score. Even the most scruffy goals can be the most influential in a game. Then we came to Group H with Uruguay against South Korea. Both teams looked menacing at the start of the game, but as both teams were cancelling each other out, it ended up being a 0-0 draw, and a good showing from both sides, but they just couldn't find that final attacking threat. We were then rewarded with the two big teams in those two groups, Portugal facing Ghana and Brazil facing Serbia. I think my favourite game out of those two was probably the Brazil-Serbia game, with Richarlison's absolute almost half bicycle kick screamer. That's in my opinion the goal of the tournament so far, and Brazil definitely look favourites to win it now, as Argentina had a awful start to their tournament. Obviously they still have 3 games to go, but I do think Brazil now look like the favourites to win the tournament. Portugal played Ghana. No idea what happened in the final few seconds of that second half, when the Portuguese keeper Diogo Costa didn't look to see the Ghana player behind him, and he ran through, tried to tackle the ball, but the Portugal defender kicked it away, and it would have been 3-3. But in the end, Portugal slipped to victory and won 3-2. So that was the first round of the games last week. Going into today's games, we had Wales versus Iran, Qatar versus Senegal, and then kicking off in 20 minutes time as of recording this, we have Netherlands versus Ecuador, and then at 7 o'clock tonight we have USA versus England. Wales versus Iran, as I said, piss poor game in the first half, but then they were both shouted at furiously by both coaches in the second half dressing rooms, and Iran went on to deservedly win that game 2-0. Wayne Hennessy, the main goalkeeper for Wales, got sent off in that game after a nasty collision outside of his box with the Iran striker. And then the game that literally finished a couple of minutes ago, Qatar versus Senegal. Qatar got their first ever goal in their World Cup finals, but it wasn't enough to keep out Senegal, who went on to win that game 3-1. I'd have to say, though, the man of the match for me in that game was probably Edouard Mendy, who made some brilliant saves against the Qatarian strikers. But Senegal did look the favourites for that game and continue to look the favourites to possibly win that group as well. The two games that are on later, Netherlands and England. Netherlands versus Ecuador, I'm predicting either a draw, as we've now seen Ecuador's potential, but also Netherlands. Yes, they had Qatar in their first game, but they do have potential in their defence and their attack to do well in that game. But I do see Ecuador just edging that game, probably a 1-0 or a 2-1. England versus USA. In the predictions book that we wrote before the start of this tournament, I thought USA would beat England 2-0. However, I'm going to change it now, and I'm going to say England will win that game probably 3-1, 3-0, something like that. And then the games for tomorrow, I'm not going to predict the scores, but just updating you guys on the games for tomorrow on Saturday. 10 o'clock kickoff, we have Tunisia versus Australia. 1 o'clock kickoff, we have Poland versus Saudi Arabia. 4 o'clock, we've got France against Denmark, the two top teams in that group. And then we have Argentina's redemption mission against Mexico, kicking off at 7 o'clock that evening. So guys, that has been my predictions and reaction to the first round of the group stage games. I apologize for the darkness, the sun is setting now, but if you enjoyed that video, smash a like on it, subscribe if you haven't already. 80% of you who are watching currently are not subscribed, so it would really help if you press that subscribe button. It only takes a click. Put that bell icon on, and then you will not miss another one of these videos. As usual, I always leave these videos unedited, but that's just the way I make them. So if they are not at the quality you usually watch YouTube videos, then that's just because it's my own way of doing this. It's my own personal style, so if you don't like it, that's all opinionated and that's up to you. But yeah, thank you for watching this video. Smash a like on it, and I'll see you in the next video.